Hi everyone, Yvonne Britton here again, and we're super fortunate today to have Shelly Lefkoe with us from the Lefkoe Institute. My voice is a little bit shaky, but not to worry because I'm not the one doing the talking. So Shelly, first of all, welcome.
Thank
We were
you.
just mentioning that Shelly really does, dedicate her time to normally larger groups of people. So we're extremely fortunate to have her here today. So thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Shelley, would you, because I actually have your course. I discovered you via someone else, and I'm kind of like going through your course now, but would you mind explaining a little bit what the Lefkoe Institute does, the miracles it works?
Sure. The philosophy behind our work is that it's your beliefs about yourself and life, most of which are unconscious. We don't even know we have these beliefs, but they totally determine our behavior, our emotions, and ultimately our reality. So I work with people. We have products and services and courses, but I do one-on-one sessions with people, and they come to me and they say, I have health challenges, or I have relationship challenges, or I procrastinate, or I don't feel good about myself. And what we do is we isolate the specific beliefs that are causing your problems and permanently eliminate them. So most people are walking around with the very common self-esteem beliefs like I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I'm not worth it. And the people who don't seem to have those beliefs generally do, but they have good, what we call survival strategy beliefs, like what makes me good enough is achieving things, or what makes me good enough is pleasing people or doing things correctly. And so these beliefs are like beach balls, and we try to hold them underwater. If what makes you important is achieving things and you're doing well at work, this is going to be underwater. But the moment there's a big upset or a failure, or somebody threatens to take your job away, suddenly I'm not important and I'm not good enough come up in your face. So our beliefs are there, some are conscious, some are not, but they do determine what's possible for us. So that's basically what we do. We have a course called the Natural Confidence Course, which is 19 of the most common self-esteem beliefs. That's the program you're doing. And we have trainings to learn how to do what I do. So I work with people in every country, thanks to Zoom. I have clients. My client this morning was in Africa, so that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, all over.
Amazing. Specifically on health, Shelley, and maybe more on chronic health issues rather than something, specific, some chronic things that have been going for a long time. What have you seen in your experience to be the main kind of like beliefs behind some of the choices? Is it the choice, does it affect the choices that we make? What does it affect? I can imagine a wide array of things.
Well, it affects everything. One of the very common beliefs that people have is the way to get attention is to get sick, because that's the only time they ever got attention as children, was when they got sick. So they have the belief the way to get attention is to get sick. People have beliefs about deserving. I'm bad. One of the most fascinating, this is a great story. One of the most fascinating group of people I've ever worked with, there were two. One was criminals, and the other was people with AIDS. In the day when it was rampant, it was before the cocktail, it was really early on. And one of the things that we discovered was that AIDS manifests in what we call opportunistic infections. And so some people who had AIDS would have pneumocystis pneumonia, and others would have Kaposi sarcoma, which is a skin cancer. And we were working with these young men, and almost all of them were gay. And one of them had the belief, I'm bad, I'm disgusting. And he had KS. So he had skin cancer. There was another young man who was a fundamentalist Christian, and his parents would have been horrified if they knew he was gay. And he stayed home from church one day, and he was walking down the stairs doing a Loretta Young. She was an old actress who used to walk down the stairs with this fabulous dresses. And he said his father walked in. He was wearing his sister's dress. And he said, and I said, what did you feel? And he said, I was mortified. And I said, and what did you conclude? And he said, I don't deserve to breathe. And he had had 3 rounds of pneumocystis pneumonia, which is obviously a lung disease. So we found that the way the illnesses manifested was actually correlated to the beliefs that they had. It was completely fascinating. So it doesn't have to be, obviously that you're gay, but, you can have beliefs I'm bad or I don't deserve, or, you can have beliefs that keep you from taking care of yourself, that make you get sick. I'm not important. One of the most common beliefs that people have is I'm not important. And if you don't believe you're important, you're not going to take care of yourself. If you believe what makes me good enough on my achievements, you're going to be at work, not at the gym. So, if you believe the way to get pleasure is to eat and eat sugar, it's going to be very hard for you to not feed yourself sugar. If you believe I'm not important, you're not going to take time and cook for yourself and make beautiful meals. Or if you believe money is scarce and hard to get, you probably won't buy healthy food. You'll eat fast food. So our beliefs can, there are all kinds of ways in. I'm being very broad, of course, because I want your listeners to be able to look at your life and see, well, what is my pattern? It could come from, many different sets of beliefs.
That is really fascinating, because I have often thought when I knew myself for such a long time what worked and what didn't, but I was like, what is it that's, why didn't I take the healthy option when I did? When I was able to choose, and I didn't go for the healthiest one. And now, all these years on, having found you guys and working through your course, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I had a client who said, this is very recent, her mother said, if you put yourself first, you're selfish. You should always put other people's needs first. So she put herself on the back burner and got sick. Didn't take care of herself, but would take care of others.
Yeah, and I think many of us have done that. So to share a little bit, because obviously I'm a lot more familiar with your work, but the beliefs are formed, is it up until we're 7 years old, where we're...
Yeah, self-esteem beliefs are formed in the first 6 to 8 years of childhood. And by self-esteem beliefs, I mean, I'm not good enough, I'm not important, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I don't matter, I don't have worth, I'm not, I just had one, I don't matter. Yeah, those are the beliefs about yourself. I'm not smart, I'm not capable.
Capable is, I find that one really fascinating, because what's really fascinating about your work is, I remember listening to the introduction, no, you can get rid of this underlying belief in 30 minutes. And I was like, really? But when you do them, there's a feeling of freedom. And after I'm not capable, when afterwards you say those words and you think that actually sounds foreign to me, because today I found the word, because I thought it sounds distant. The word for me is foreign. It's like, well, no, I am capable. So the sky's the limit. There's a lot of freedom that comes with it.
And you don't know that, I had traveled the world. I ran a little company when I was in my 20s. I would have thought, I lived alone in New York City. I would have thought that I was capable. I mean, I was. And when I was looking at why don't I do the hard things? If something comes hard to me, I staff it out. I ask a friend. I give it to somebody. I hire somebody. I just didn't do it. And I once said to my friend, how did you learn PowerPoint? And she said, oh, it's easy. I got on and I failed and failed and failed until I learned. And I started looking at what I believed in. When my husband said to me, say I'm not capable, tears came to my eyes.
Wow.
And the belief never came up because there are a lot of things I can do naturally. But what stopped me from doing those other things was the belief I'm not capable. And it was wonderful because I had a wonderful mother who did everything for me.
Yeah, me too.
And she thought she was being a good mom and, meant well and loved me, but that's what I concluded. I'm not capable. And when I got rid of that belief, my life changed. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that is it. That's a big one. And I think for health as well as, or even anything, it's like we put a limit on things. Like I'm capable up to here. But I think with health especially, there's, I thought for a long time, I'm just sick. I'm just like, there's just something wrong.
And here's the interesting thing about health. I had a mother who said, oh, that catching stuff is for the birds. That was her expression. It's for the birds, meaning it's nonsense. We don't catch things. She used to say, I had a neighbor who used to use the word depressed. And she'd say, oh, I'm so depressed. We're not going on vacation. And it was a way of saying she was upset or sad, but she used the word depressed. And she used to walk out and my mother would say to me, we don't get depressed. And I grew up with a belief, we don't get depressed. So I've been down or bummed or sad, but I don't use the word. It's like not a possibility in my world. And even when I lost my husband, I was grieving, but I never felt depressed, like hopeless, helpless, powerless, never. The other thing my mother used to say is we don't catch things. We don't get sick. And I almost never get sick. I mean, I can't, it's almost never. So, there are about that. And there are mothers who tell their kids, oh, don't go out without a cold. Don't go out without a sweater. You'll catch a cold, or don't do this or don't do that. And you end up forming beliefs, I'm fragile. That's another thing. I had a client who got rheumatic fever or something when she was a child. And her mother always used to say to her, oh, you're very frail. You're very frail. And she grew up with this belief, I'm very frail, and got sick all the time. And after we worked, she stopped getting sick. She says, I'm not frail. That's nonsense.
It's really astounding, the power of the brain, combined with other things, but it's really amazing. The other area I wanted to ask you about, Shelly, is relationships. So I'm just, been thinking about it. If you have this feeling that you've grown up with it, maybe you don't even realize if I'm not important. Like, are we treating our partners like our parents? Are we kind of like projecting that onto them? That was the other thing I wanted to ask about.
I don't dabble in the therapeutic labels like projecting and things like that. I kind of stay away from them. But what's true about relationships is I just, right before you, got off with somebody who was telling me she sent me somebody because the woman is in an abusive relationship. And I said, it's so interesting. I cannot imagine being in an abusive relationship. Like, it's just so unimaginable to me. Because my beliefs, I have other beliefs about other things that I've worked on, worrying about what people think used to run my life. So when I got rid of the belief, what makes me good enough is having other people think well of me. Now I could be my authentic self. But this particular issue about being in an abusive relationship, but when people believe I don't deserve, or that's as good as it gets, or I deserve to be treated badly, because parents say things to kids like, oh, you don't deserve anything, or I had a client recently whose parents told her that she didn't walk with God, and she always thought she was bad and that she didn't deserve anything good. And some terrible things happened to her. She was raped by an ex-boyfriend, and they told her she deserved it. So, there's a lot of beliefs that get formed in childhood by the way our parents treat us, and then we grow up and we become, we get in relationships with people based on those beliefs. I told my kids from the day they were born, don't treat me with dignity and respect because I'm your mother. You treat me with dignity and respect because that's how I treat you.
Yeah.
I would tell you to shut up. I wouldn't tell you to go screw yourself. I wouldn't talk to you that way. And I don't want you to talk to me that way. But you can use iMessages and say, I hate you. I wish you weren't my mother. That's fine. But you can't, so I can't imagine my children being in a relationship where they weren't treated with dignity and respect.
Did you know all of this when your children were young, or
Mm-hmm.
you did already? Because a lot of this has maybe been new to me in the past 6 months, and I have a just turned 7-year-old. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, 7 is, you can turn it around. Just be very clear. I mean, my message to parents is always think about, when your child walks away from any situation or any interaction, what are they likely to conclude? So if your child makes a mistake, you celebrate it, say, listen, this is a learning opportunity. And then they'll conclude mistakes and failures are learning opportunities, as opposed to mistakes and failures are bad, and then they can't grow up to be innovative. But relationships, there's all kinds of, there's jealousy that comes from the lack of self-esteem. There's control. If you're a kid and your parents are fighting and out of control, you're going to believe that I have to have control in order to have my life be okay. And so you're going to be controlling, and you're going to bring that into your relationship. So again, it isn't that you're projecting what your parents did onto your relationship, but if you see your parents behave a certain way, you go, oh, my father was, my client just told me her father was married 8 times. And, you come up with the belief relationships don't work. Or, if you're in a relationship, if your parents yell and scream and throw things, you're going to conclude that conflict is scary and dangerous. And you're going to grow up and have a fear of conflict. So you're going to be in relationships and you're not going to speak up for yourself.
The control that you mentioned, Shelly, so I know, we can try to do it in relationships, but I've seen it in health as well. Like try to be too strict and control what you eat, and it's like, I've got to be 100%, and I've probably been guilty of it in the past myself, just from a want to feel better. But where does the control stem from? What's that kind of belief?
Well, control is again a survival strategy belief. It's if you feel out of control in your life, if you have a belief I'm powerless or I don't have control of my life, then what you're going to do is try to be in control, and you're going to go to the other extreme. If I have no control, the way to have power is to control everything. So when you're a kid, you can let's assume with eating, you have a father who said, oh, don't eat that, you're going to get fat, and don't eat cookies, and you can't eat this, and you have to finish everything on your plate, and you have all these beliefs about what you can and can't do in food, and and so you conclude I'm powerless, and then you realize that you have control, and you can say, the way to have power is to have control over everything. So you control everything that goes into your mouth and how much you have, or you go the opposite. You have no control. You just say, screw you. I'm going to eat that was mine. I'm going to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. Nobody's ever going to tell me what to eat again. So that's what.
Was it enough for just for you as an example? did you kind of like go through the exercises of the beliefs once?
That's the only way I know to get rid of a belief is to go through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do that yourself only once, or did you find that you needed to repeat it, or like were there beliefs for you that were like sticky that you had to?
No, beliefs generally, there was only one belief I did twice that I could remember. The most important thing when you do the process is the seeing step. And if you get, I never saw that I wasn't good enough, I saw my parents criticizing me, then the belief will go away. Because if you have a belief in Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny, and one day you get, wait a minute, that's my father. I never saw there was a Santa Claus. I made that up. The belief in Santa Claus goes away and never comes back.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I don't go through it myself. My husband, my best friend, is a certified facilitator. I always have people do it for me. I'm not big on doing it myself.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you're working in these things, so it must just be like so automatic for you. But you know what?
No. I've done my work. When I have an issue, I work on beliefs.
So you still do?
Very rarely, but yes, sometimes for sure. Something came up with my daughter, and I was being away that I didn't like, and I sat down and I had a couple of sessions, 2 sessions on it. There's something else I wanted to work on. Something about money came up, and I said, oh, I want to work on that. Since my husband died, some things might come up. And I'll just call my friend and have a session or 2, but mostly now my stuff's pretty handled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not all of it, but most of it. A lot of it.
That's very inspiring. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was just the fact that you question the belief that so you have I think you have one of your web pages, you have 3 that you can do for free. I think it's I'm not good enough, I'm not important, and I think it's mistakes and failure are bad. Mm-hmm. What's really funny is even when you do the first one that you think, oh, I think I might have got some things wrong, and like maybe I'm taking a lot of things personally, and maybe the person was actually having a bad day. So I find it very liberating. Not, in general, it really made me look at situations and not take them as personally.
That's the freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's an amazing program. Have you got like any more stories that you can share with us? I mean, you must have had so many people going through it now over the years, but like any kind of like health related or relationships or.
Oh God. Millions.
I can imagine.
I don't know. I mean, I have so many. You have to ask me something more specific, but health related. I had a client who was depressed. She had a constant malaise. It was actually the first time I ever heard that word. I thought she said, I have a pain in my legs. We laughed for about an hour. It was hilarious. But she had a malaise, like just a low-grade depression. And she used to get colds a lot. And after we worked, she stopped, and she's totally not depressed anymore. And that's exciting. Relationship.
That's amazing, though, because I mean, to move a depression is really quite
one of my most favorite clients, not clients, one of my most favorite patterns to work on is to work with incest and rape victims, because you get rid of beliefs like I'm damaged goods, I'm worthless, I'm powerless, men are bad. All those beliefs go away so quickly, really quickly. And so I worked with this man who was a psychiatrist whose mother used to incest him and beat him and lock him in a closet and go to church. And he had never had a successful relationship with a woman. And after we finished working, he met a woman. Well, while we were working, he met a woman and he got married and built a beautiful home and lived happily ever after.
Oh, it's a beautiful story.
And then there was another young woman that I worked with who was date raped. And this is recently. And for a year and a half, she was just tortured. And by the end of the first session, it was like, okay, that happened. And one of the things that we talk about in our work is the meaning we give events. So the fact that you were raped wasn't fun. It was a terrible, horrible thing. I wish that would never happen to anybody. But it's an event, and the meanings we give it, I'm worthless, I'm powerless, I'm not good enough, I'm damaged goods, is all on top of the event. It's not inherent in the event. So now her face is not squinched and tight, and she's not like this anymore, and she's, dating, and, she's in college. So that was just
that's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing work you do.
Thank you.
Shelly, could you tell us could you tell people where to find you? And what kind of...
If you want to eliminate a belief for free, you go to recreateyourlife.com, RECREATE, recreateyourlife.com, and that's where you can buy the program that you have, Natural Confidence Program that Yvonne has. And if you want private sessions, then you just go to lefkoeinstitute.com and get a session.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you again for the work you do in general. I'm really blown away by it, and for taking the time to be with us today, because I know you're really busy, and I feel really fortunate to have had this time with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.